This morning, we're going to zero in on two of the creative industries that have, for a while, but it turned up in recent years, have made its significant impact globally in defining what persons understand as brand Jamaica. And that is our theater and our dance. In recent times, our theaters, well, not in recent times, for the longest while, but as I say, it seemed to turn up in recent years. Our theater has been an export product. Similarly, our dance has been an export product as well. Our dancers and our dance moves and our theater and the way in which we speak and the way in which we converse have been international products that persons seek after and persons try to, years ago, I'll tell you a short anecdotal story. Years ago, I went to Japan and we were walking in the streets and we saw this guy, and the person who was with me was not a Jamaican. And the guy said, "Hey, look at that other Jamaican, why? Because he tried to walk like a Jamaican, he tried to talk like a Jamaican, he tried to gesticulate in the way we do. He tried to be Jamaican." So our product, our people, who we are, has been an international product for many years. But the questions remain how it is that we maximize monetization out of it, how it is that we commercialize this innate industry that we have, this raw talent pool that we have. How do we do that? COVID has created new challenges, of course, for the entire creative industries. Certainly, all theaters have been shut. All street parties and dances have also been shuttered one time, which has meant for many persons in this space a shuttering of income as well. How do we navigate that? I mean, now we're seeming to be coming out of it, hopefully, cross fingers, and we're heading back to work. And hopefully in short order, hopefully our theaters, our spaces might begin to start opening up again, but how it is that we as creatives in these spaces continue to do business, how it is that we do that. And this morning we have an esteemed panel. I was gonna say August, but of course, it's me, so I can't say August panel. We have really some experts who have been in the field for many, many years and are well poised to share some real salient information with us this morning on the topic. We have my dear friend and somebody who I respect a whole lot, more than she will ever know, Ellington. We have also brethren and an extremely talented gentleman for many, many years. You may know him as String Bean, but his real name is Michael Nicholson. We have the Dean of the Dance School at Edna Manley, and that is Marlon Sims. And we have the dancers from the group that you call Shady Squad, that we know as Shady Squad. That is Matthew and Conray. So, this morning, we're going to start the process, start kicking off and start the sharing with my dear friend, Faye. And let me tell you a little bit about Faye. By the way, Faye don't need no introduction. The whole of Jamaica, if you don't know Faye, we have to find out which rock you live under and probably go check it out because it must be a great place to be. But she's a patriot and passionate about Jamaica. Faye's career in broadcast media and journalism started in 1974, and that was 3 years after she established herself as an actress. Since 1971, she has put her stamp of excellence and professionalism and demonstrated her versatility through her work in theater, media, and culture as a sought-after actor and Master of Ceremonies at home and abroad, she has established herself as a household name in Jamaica and the diaspora for over 4 decades. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Auntie Faye Ellington, CD.
Thank you, Harold. Good morning, everybody. Let me just say that I will not be offering solutions. I'll be sharing thoughts. And you know, when you start at 4, I thought you were going to say 400 years. Anyway, listen now. This is a serious thing. I've been given 5 minutes, all of us, to speak. So I want to do that now. So I've been asked to speak backstage towards a better business strategy. And this is where I'm going to go at this point. So let us begin with this better business strategy. Oops, I think I just messed up here a while ago. Right, I'm good to go now from the beginning. So here we are. There is no business like show business. I think we all agree to that. But no, there is no business. There is no business. And we talk about for playwrights, producers, directors, actors, set designers, set constructors, costume designers or costume providers. I think of people like Quindell, front of house, makeup, technical side, light and sound, all of that. There is no business. And sponsors, because we can't go to them now. Harold said that possibly we will get back to business sooner rather than later. I don't know if I'm as optimistic as that, Harold. Now, here's something. Live events, of which theater is a part, is a 1.1 trillion business worldwide. 1.1 trillion, not million, not billion, trillion. And we need to recognize that and remember that we are a part of that. So, COVID-19 has wiped out our earnings, so it's definitely not business as usual for theater. And I'm just focusing on theater right now. So what do we have to do? Our business now is to find business solutions because people have to live. I have just mentioned some of the categories of people, right? The people who park you, right? Yeah, the people park you. Yeah, and recently we've been becoming a little bit more tech savvy with ticketing, you know, online ticketing. So we have to identify new ways. And, you know, some of it is not really new, just that some of us in the business have not exposed ourselves to certain things. The Palace Cineplex for maybe 2 years or more than 2 years, on a Sunday morning at 11:30, they would offer live theater. For the National Theatre, the Met Opera, this kind of thing. And they would have other special airings of productions that would be of interest to people. Now, I know that many people in theatre in Jamaica are not into the traditional style of theatre, not all, but many. And so they're not going to find the opera exciting or ballet exciting or Hamlet exciting. But it is good to go because then you see what they're doing with technology. You're sitting there, it's a live performance, you know. A live performance that's been recorded. And so you see the camera angles and everything, and you see the audience and you hear their involvement, and you also have your involvement. I remember years ago, I did my master's late in life. I could have been about 50 thereabout. And when I was doing my research, it was on theater. Well, obviously, it would have had to be on theater or media. But it was like a convergence because the technology has allowed us to converge. And I had come upon this term and this way of doing called the teledramatic arts, which is what you would go when you go to Palace Cineplex or you go online and you see a production, because they're moving from the floorboards, not using the floorboards alone, and using the technology. Then it was the tele, meaning television. Now it is a technology side of things. And when I was doing my research, I checked on the number of theater seats that we had in Jamaica, from the little theater, Montego Bay Little Theater, to what we have in Kingston. At the time, it was about 3,000 and mash. And I compared that with Royal Palm Estate that one of our presenters, String Bean, Michael Nicholson, was in. And on any Sunday evening when they were on, they had at least 500,000 people viewing. And it hit me. This is where we need to be going, and we need to get there fast. Well, guess what happened? We've better got to think about it now to decide how we're going to do it, because we have to do it. I'm not certain what role the technology will play. but yes, technology will be there. Andrew Clark, a colleague and friend and like a son to me, he's in New York with Brata Productions, and he sent me some stuff that is being done there now, where they're doing performances, online performances. Right, I was reading up for this, that there are some people in England doing monologues and they record them. And there's something, it has to do with music, right? But it is part of the performing arts. On Mother's Day, you see, on Mother's Day, there was a performance. And with people like Harry Smith and Rory, but it was recorded prior to, and it was put out there, and you could see great quality. Quality. We have to deal with quality, even though we deal with the technology. We have to deal with how we come across and how we put across our products as we incorporate the technology and incorporate online, which could involve social media as well, which must involve. But the challenge now is how we're going to monetize this thing as we attempt to reinvent ourselves. And we have to do it now. We don't have a choice. So even though theaters, as we know them, might not open their doors until the latter part of this year or next year. Hello, I think I heard Harold Davis in a presentation on TVJ, one of the forums, say that they in Europe, live performances, they've made it very clear, cannot happen until 2021 or beyond. So we have to understand that even though we might have the best scripts and get ready and we want to go in, people might be wary of coming into the theater. And we can hardly pay our bills now. It's a very expensive thing to put on a play or a production. And so if that is hard now, if people want to have 6 feet between them in a little theater of 120 people, how many people are going to incorporate? Can you afford to put it on? Would a sponsor collaborate with you to put that on? So we have nothing to think about. We have to reinvent, and technology we have to include, and we have to find a way to cost that as we go through. So right now we need to go decide how the performance thing will go, because it is a performance that we will give that perhaps now at my age, and I've been around for a while, but at your age, it has to be a performance of your life. You have to get in there, and it's not just now performing as an actor, but looking at the business, the gig economy, right? You know, the gig economy, which is, you know, you say a musician going on a gig, we have to go find many different things that we can do. And some of them may not be in the field of the arts, but there may be things that you can do. I started a YouTube channel a few years ago, and I just left it there. And 3 Christmases ago, I came in from an event at the conference center. I saw something on TV and I recorded something, and it took off like storm. Since COVID-19, I have decided to re-energize you want to see the business. In less than a week, I moved up to 500,000 subscribers. I know I'm at 2-point-something thousand subscribers. So we have to decide what it is. And oh, I should tell you, and I'm now monetized on YouTube. So I'll be able to make money. I don't know if money do I know. I mean, I don't know when I'm going to get the first check. But so we have to do the performance of our life. So what am I saying? Everything, Kita Khan and all over the place. So I never want to turn it fully upside down, because Michael Nicholson can't read upside down completely. So I decide to just twist it to tell you, say the whole wall upside down as sake of COVID. Our business of theater. And when people are going to start that business, theater is one of the last things the performing arts they're going to think of. So we better think of ourselves, because if we don't, you know, when you're waiting, when Michael is in the wings, or Rosemary Murray, I saw her as one of the participants earlier on looking on, and you hear, stand by. They're not even tell you stand by now. The light now come on, you know, hear nobody say stand by. All you realize that you're on, and then turn on the bright light for you. And that's how we did. Thank you. Enough thanks.
Thank you so much, Faye. Thank you so much, Faye. I mean, the lights them turn on, lights them turn on, and we have to find solutions. We're gonna have to find solutions. And you mentioned this young man so many times. That is an excellent segue into him. I use young man advisedly, because, you know, him pay me some money for use it. So, so we're not ashamed to talk. My friend Michael Nicholson is our second presenter, second panelist this morning. And Michael, despite his 23-year-old looks, has almost 40 years of theater. And his work is merited as one of the highest, some of the highest caliber in the country, you know. He graduated in directing from Edna Manley College of the Performing Arts. He continued to establish himself as a reputable actor and a distinguished director. He directed work such as box office hits Bashman Granite 2 for the Shabada franchise, Country Duppy, Body Language, Kiss My Neck, Aston Cook's award-winning comedy single entry, Jamaica Torati. Can we say that on here? Well, we just did. Front Room and so on, so many. But of course, Nicholson is known to everyone in Jamaica as the lovable string bean from that CVM television local soap opera, local Royal Palm Estate, later renamed the Blackburns of Royal Palm Estate. So Michael has a depth of experience that goes in front of the audience and behind as well, you know, in terms of the directing and producing. So Michael, floor is open to you to share your thoughts.
Thank you very much, Mr. Davis. And good morning to the panelists. Faye, thank you so much for that. It was an excellent segue. So let's hope I can incorporate all that you just said. So let me just start by saying thanks again and good morning and thank you for having me. And all that Faye said is exactly how it goes, right? That is where we need to go right now. And I must tell you that prior to COVID happening, it turned out that I was currently doing a production. We had just finished Pit to Pulpit at the Phoenix Theatre and then went on to doing Young and Reckless. Now, we lost a whole theatre space because, as you know, the Phoenix Theatre was sold prior to early January. And as a result of this, we just lost 300 seats. So now it was a case of now taking the play on the road and going to various venues in the country to perform this play that had been currently running in Kingston. So you had that to deal with. Now, COVID has happened. We have now had to cut. We can't do anything about it. And now here's an actor that's out of work and now has to find something else to do. So what has now happened? There were projects in the pipeline that were happening before. Actors and producers are hoping and are praying that COVID, we might either have to live with it or deal with it. But whichever case it is, we do have plans to open the theaters again and to tour again. But as Faye said, there are certain rules. There's going to be a new normal that we're going to have to work with. And in the meantime, what do we do? Now, some of us, I have found a lot of work online that I have done that my name is on. I still have to work out whether or not I can use this work to broadcast and get revenue from it, or find ways of finding out if my producers, based on the contracts that we've signed as actors for these various productions, if they start to show them again, if there are any revenues to gain from it. Because after doing 15 years of Royal Palm Estate, if I was living in Hollywood and that was in syndication, I'd probably be rich stupid now, as opposed to, you know, having this conversation. But then I wouldn't have to worry about anything. But that's the kind of life that we have to live. And our reality here in Jamaica is now everyone is trying to come up with new ideas and interesting things to happen in order to make revenue and in order to keep yourself current. Because what you also have to understand is you as an actor, you're a brand, you've become a brand. As a result of not playing to 70,000 seats across the country and now being seen by over 500,000 people every Sunday night, suddenly you have a face now that is known everywhere. You have become quote unquote famous, people know who you are, and yes, you have become a brand. So you have to find ways to keep that brand out there and to keep it going. Now you can rely on work that is already out there to keep the brand going so that after all this is passed, you consider it an investment in marketing yourself so that once COVID is over or once we're able to deal with it, we can now continue with our face as celebrities, as actors, and as people who are going to make money and continue to gain revenue from what we're doing. As a matter of fact, this whole look that I have here now at the moment is kind of stuck in transition because this was in preparation for another production I was doing. Now the question is, do I cut it off? Do I keep it? Do I maintain it? Right? This is now another look for another character. It's not COVID taking hold on me and suddenly something wrong with String Bean, but this is a look that one has, and this is the sacrifices you make as an actor. So that's the things you have to do, and you have to be mindful that if this is the case and this is what you're dealing with, you have to determine now, do I keep it? Do I cut it? Do I just say, all right, let's just wait and see what happens? No, we have to come up with other ideas. And I must plug right now an interesting thing that happened with all of us, and Faye can tell you about it. We were on Facebook, and two people, Ian McKnight and Tulip Reed, had an issue over mangoes that they've been having for years, right? Who used to get mango. One lived abroad, one lived here locally, and would get mangoes and would show off eating the mangoes and showing an empty mango seed that, see, I finished it and you didn't get any. And of course, she would reply to him, and this would happen back and forth. Then all of a sudden, people jumped into it and said, well, look, since you don't have any mangoes, Tulip, I'll send you some of mine. Somebody else goes and says, well, since you don't have any mangoes, Ian, I'll send you some of mine. Then there's a fight amongst them. The next thing you know is the Mango Chronicles / Mango War is now born. There's now become a new soap opera, has its own page on Facebook, and people are literally canceling their Netflix accounts just to watch what is happening between these two people. And what has made it so interesting is that everyone in the theatre fraternity has been adding to either Team Tulip or Team Ian. And it has just been growing and growing and growing. But with this happening now, we now need to find a way to either turn this into a real soap opera. Is Netflix gonna pick it up and sort of decide that, look, they're gonna incorporate all of us in there and we end up earning from it? What's going to happen? But the interesting thing about it is how the theatre community just jumped in, as well as other people, and have added their little videos all about mangoes and what has been happening with mangoes and Mango War. It was that simple. So if we can take our ideas like this with our current COVID situation and turn these into soap operas, turn these into stories that will make people interested enough to want to be a part of it, because like it or not, our audience out there is real. Whether they're in cyberspace, they're at their homes, they're in real life, they exist. And they are watching every move you make. And every time you do something, they want to be a part of it. So we have to make sure that as actors out there, and based on what we're doing, we have to keep our public interested. We have to keep our public wanting to be a part of our lives, because that's how we have strived, right? I'm very happy for my fans. I'm very happy for my well-wishers. There have been people who have been there who have watched me from the days when I was doing pantomime. And right up to my last production, the family was still in the audience till them turn, and they now have grandchildren who are now watching me on stage and going, wow. And they've always come because they say, yeah, it's a trusted name, it's a trusted brand, and they enjoy what they see. So we have to sustain that. So whether we're on or off stage now, yes, we're out of work, and yes, we need the revenue. We just have to find a way to monetize this work, right? And congratulations for you on the YouTube, nice one, right? I'm just hoping that we all have enough sense to do that, because right now, there are producers who have our work out there and are probably doing similar things. But are the actors benefiting from that? We don't know. But this is where now we have to try and negotiate to make sure that at least if our work is out there, and if it is in fact being monetized and people are earning revenue, that those of us who have participated in these various productions at least get our piece of the pie, because that's where we reach now, because it's out there. We know it. I get calls, I get 3 to 4 calls nearly every week from people across the globe. I just saw your play on TV. I just saw it on my cable channel, which means that Brand Jamaica and the work of theater producers and actors are out there for the world to see, and the diaspora knows everything about us. And I've seen our work out there. I remember years ago going to Canada and walking into a video store, it was a CD store. And the minute I walked in, I started to see different plays that I had done. And the gentleman just started to take them off the shelf and say, sir, these are yours, because I can't pay you for the amount of money that I've made. I can't even give, so here are copies of your work. So finally, I have tangible copies of my work in my hand, but have no revenue for the copies otherwise. So that's the thing we have to look at going forward in terms of how we work as actors and how we now deal with the new normal and putting our work out there, monetizing it and getting revenue from it. That is my 5 minutes. I'm Michael Nicholson, and thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Michael. Lots of nuggets right there. I mean, you spoke about, I'm very interested in how we're going to syndicate the Mango Chronicles, and how somebody like a Netflix, or maybe we need to have a local production do that first of all. I'm going to take that up. But thank you so much, and lots to discuss when in our discussion section. We're going to change lanes, not switch. It's just another lane, the lane they're right next to it. As a matter of fact, the lane then cross over enough time. And go and speak about dance now. Now, a lot has been happening in the dance space, as I mentioned at the beginning of our session. A lot has been happening. And it's not just today that Jamaica is known as somewhere where they can get the latest move. It's not just today. But we have to admit that in the last 10, 15 years, perhaps, there has been an explosion in terms of the recognition of dance and our dance moves and the association with the Jamaican culture that persons are familiar with internationally, you know. But there is also the discussion in all of that. There is a discussion that we're not monetizing sufficiently from the creativity that we have put into our dances. As Marlon and Shady Squad know, every week you have at least 5 new dance moves that come on the market. But the dance hall them shut down. Dance hall them shut down. The parties shut down. The theaters are shuttered as well. What do we do? And like Faye reminded me that I did mention that in Europe they have said that they're not having any public event, large public event, until perhaps the end of 2021. What do we do in the meantime? So to speak to you on that, we have 2 panelists, the first of which is Marlon Sims. Now, Marlon is the Dean of the School of Dance at Edna Manley College for the Visual and Performing Arts. And he did his bachelor's in English and went on to do a Master of Fine Arts in Choreographic Theory and Practice. He has been in the teaching profession for over 20 years and has facilitated workshops and classes in dance, choreography, and dance education in many parts of the Caribbean and North America. He's also choreographed dance works in Jamaica and overseas for major dance companies, schools, studios, community groups, and shares generously with the NDTC as the artistic director. Marlon is very well schooled and very well qualified to speak with us this morning and share his perspectives with us this morning. Marlon, your time.
Thank you so much for the introduction. It's really a pleasure being here, and my heart is moving. I hear all the stories that are coming out in terms of how persons are affected by COVID-19. You know, when one aspect of theatre is affected, it affects all. So it's really heartrending to hear the stories. Now, as you know, I wear a couple of hats. So I'm going to talk about dance in academia. I'm going to talk a bit about the teaching profession, what's happening there. And I'm going to talk about dance performance. And of course, I don't like to talk about all the problems they're experiencing, but to offer some possible solutions to consider. Because it's as Miss Ellington rightly said, you know, you have to do something now. You can't wait until tomorrow. The time is now. Now, as it pertains to dance, all the dance programs across the globe that I'm aware of are affected by COVID. You know, where there are stay-at-home orders, the closures of the school, there's social distancing, and there are restrictions on social gathering. And of course, everybody knows that dance is a community-based activity. So even if you're learning dance in a studio, there are fundamental principles you learn about community, you learn about each other, you learn about team building, you learn about people's culture, way of life. And it requires a face-to-face modality. And because everybody's home now, in their homes, it has been difficult to have that kind of convening. And it has also been affected too because there are elements of dance that you have to make contact with the body. The teacher has to make contact with your body in order to teach you certain things or make certain corrections. There's contact between dancers, and there are performance elements where you have to make contact with other persons in the space. So being home again kind of makes that null and void in this time. Now, what the Edna Manley College has done primarily since the closure of the college by the Ministry of Education is to move all its courses online. At the time it happened, though, we were fortunate enough to have actually covered a good portion of the content in our technique courses. And then we had to find creative ways to deliver the content following that based on where the students are in their own spaces. So some courses were offered synchronously or asynchronous. Some students, the classes are offered together, as well as they may be staggered based on when the student can log on and do the courses. And we had to find creative ways to assess them, whether it is that they record their performance, send the video to us, we involve the external examiners to view the videos, send the grades back so they can actually complete the semester. So one good thing that happened was that they covered the majority of the courses and content, and now it's just to finish up on the loose end. We're looking forward now to what's going to happen in September. Are we going to have a school? Are they going to come back? Will schools be reopened? We're not quite sure. And so we have to come up with several different plans to look at the different scenarios. If they do come back, we can have this timetable that's in order. If they don't, if the school remains to be closed, we'll have to perhaps teach a small number of technical courses, probably have a small number of students in the studio. We have to limit the numbers that are being taught. We may have to just have 6 and stagger. This 6 comes in today, this 6 comes in the other day, that kind of a thing. So we're looking at different ways in which we can facilitate the challenges of the time. But our students have challenges too. Some don't have data connection all the time. The devices that they use may not be applicable to what we're trying to do. The space at home is difficult. The living situation may not be conducive to doing a dance class. They may not have the resources to even buy a data plan so they can connect. The government has done a very good thing recently, which was to zero rate our website and our online learning platforms. The students can actually access these courses without having credit on their phone. So that's been a very good thing. I'm going to shift now to the dance teachers. And you know, in schools in Jamaica, dance is predominantly an extracurricular activity. It's not a discrete discipline in the timetable. So they employ teachers on a part-time basis. With school being closed, teachers are out of jobs. Luckily for the full-time teachers who are teaching theater arts, they have retained their jobs, but are having the usual difficulties of connecting with their students, teaching content. And of course, in these times, school is actually going to prioritize what is important at this time. Is dance important? They don't have an exam in CSEC to do necessarily if it's not theater arts. So therefore we can cut that program. And with cutting that program, teachers are out of jobs. The dance teachers, of course, in prep schools, I know some prep schools have been facing some financial difficulties. So some teachers who were probably sustaining themselves with the dance classes continuing had to stop. One teacher in particular said to me that they've had to take a 40% pay cut. So there are some challenges there as well. So if you're not out of a job, dealing with a pay cut, you're dealing with the challenges of technology and student resources. Students can't afford to connect and participate in classes. Now let's talk about dance performance really quickly. Live performance of dance is affected. Theaters are closed, as Ms. Ellington had expressed earlier. So all the shows, rehearsals are on hold. Everything is canceled or on hold. Performers who are dependent on travel, whether to go teach or perform overseas. Countries have closed their borders, so they are unable to travel to earn an income. Dance classes are not being held in the traditional way, as I'd expressed, similar to what's happening at the college. Persons who normally go into communities and teach dance, and they're unable to do that now. And so dance companies, dance studios, dance groups are all trying to stay relevant. And so they have engaged the online methods or approaches to staying relevant. YouTube channel, IG, and other social media platforms. Live performances have been replaced by videos or past shows, conversations, free and paid classes, and open houses. And performers are talking deliberately, are talking to each other to see if they can come up with ways, collaborate mostly probably, to find a solution to the challenges. And some are trying fundraising activities to stay afloat. For instance, you get to view a performance if it is that you can make a contribution. So you're not paying to see the performance necessarily, but you're making a contribution to the individual artist or to the organization that needs to stay afloat at this time. Now, what are the solutions? As I said before, we have to look at solutions. And it calls for us to really dig deep into our creative imagination and come up with things that we have never done before. For those persons who are afraid of technology, because it's so cold and distant and mechanical, you have to find a way to engage it now in order to stay relevant and sell your product. And of course, because everybody knows charging towards the online platform, the space is really very competitive. And in order to stay relevant, you have to brand your product differently now. So if you're pushing before in a particular way, you have to find a more dynamic way to say, this is what I have to offer, and this is what I can do. And this is how this is what I'm gonna sell to you in order to keep you engaged and to keep my product relevant. So some have actually had Zoom classes, whether it be one-on-one or with a group. Some are selling their content. But there's a warning at that too. You have to find a way to protect your product. So you don't want to freely give it away and lose the value of it because you are now operating as a kind of desperate way to get money that you are just giving everything up like that. So you have to find a way to protect what you have, monetize it carefully, and ensure that you earn. And my advice too is to begin documentation. Not a lot of persons were documenting their work, recognizing that there is an online market going on and they could actually earn from that. And so in going forward, we have to look at how we do things, and we have to do things differently and document things carefully and document it well. Ms. Ellington had actually spoke to that as well. You have to also do your research. What does the market need at this time? My particular focus as an artist, this is hypothetical, was on entertainment. Can I now reshape what I do and offer dance as a mental health solution? Because a lot of people are pressured by the times. How can dance be packaged differently to help people out of this mental challenge and mental health situation that they're facing? Ask people what they want, engage them, do your research, look at what the trends are, try to be different and try to stand out at this time, only because the online platform is now just saturated with people trying to push their content. Develop a paying space for viewing. Study the online analytics of all your online platforms to see how people are engaging with your material, and whatever is most responsive, try to find dynamic ways of pushing that so that you can stay within the market, you can remain competitive, and people will actually engage your content and make you and keep you afloat financially. Also expand your knowledge. There are free courses available online. There's this course called Online Marketing by Google Garage, I think. It's free. You can go on and find out how you can sell your product online. It's very good, and it's bite-sized information. It's kind of long, but it's invaluable information. Become tech savvy. Get your computers up and running. The internet, I know we have an internet connection. I heard Flow was down for a couple of days. So some people are having a rough time. Get the lighting done. Understand lighting and photography and videography. So you're developing these technical skills to meet what the consumer wants to see online, and also to be competitive with other persons who are doing the same. And my final word, because I think I've come to the end of my 5 minutes, is COVID-19 may be a tragedy in some sense, but it is definitely an opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Marlon. I 100% endorse everything that you've said, everything that all our panelists have said, actually. But certainly we believe that this tragedy really is an opportunity if we are ready, and if we are creative and innovative enough, and absorb the learning that this tragedy has forced us in some instances to undertake. You mentioned something very critical, Marlon, before we go on to Shady Squad, and you mentioned the whole business of documenting your work as a critical, and documenting your work with the highest quality as well. Faye mentioned it as well, as important to how it is that we're going to pivot if we're going to look to go use other marketing channels as well. That's very important for the creative industries. Okay, so going good, I like it. So the final panelists for this morning, and by the way, thank you, Neela. Yes, Marlon is the artistic director of NDTC. Thanks, Neela. The final panelists for this morning, you know them, you have seen them all over the place. They are popularly known as Shady Squad dance group and one of the best and most renowned urban dance groups in Jamaica. A 6-member dance group. This morning we're going to have brothers Matthew and Conray speak to us. But Shady Squad has been in existence for over 15 years, during which, as we know, they have become a household name and have achieved somewhat kind of celebrity kind of status. And as are seen as one of the pioneers of this. Remember what we spoke about, this recent movement and explosion of urban dance, and everything, such that every single week you have a different dance group creating at least 2 or 3 moves. But they are seen as pioneers in this space. They have won several awards, including coming second, although they were the clear favorites. I'm just a little biased. In 2016, 2006, 2007 version of Dancing Dynamites, consecutive reggae dance champions, 2010, 2011, and so on. So they are really in the space and are really pioneers in this space. And we want them this morning to speak to us from an urban dance perspective. I said before that all of the street dances, all of the entertainment events and so on, as we know, are shuttered. How do we, as urban dancers or street dancers, as you call yourself, pivot and find new ways to monetize the product? And also, Conray and Matthew, if you can touch on this whole thing about let me not direct you at all. You just share with us your perspective, and perhaps in the question and answer, I'll ask you about some international impressions of our dance. So thank you so much, Conray and Matthew, and it's over to you now.
Hi, thank you for having us. All right, so I'm gonna try to give you everything from the perspective of a street dancer, right? We've been in the business for a while. In the beginning, it was more directed towards the parties and that urban space, and then it moved to, as we said, we got into the whole world of TV and theater and performance, and that created a lot of opportunities for earning and potential for income. But the next move that was made was we started getting eyes from people overseas, and we realized that while you're earning here in this space, it has its limitations, because especially when we started, Jamaica wasn't really ready to see, dance as a product from street dancers. They weren't willing to give you, the type of payment for what you would want and that type of thing. So, you have to find ways to put the pieces together as a street dancer. And, most of us, we don't really have the business model that we would require. Like, for example, musicians would have to earn the income that you would need. Or, in the other countries internationally, the infrastructure that they would have for dance and as artists in the in the government and the society. In Jamaica, it's very different. So the first jump was to go to a lot of performances everywhere, all over, corporate shows. Parties is one thing, corporate shows is another thing, and then the next jump became to go internationally, because we realized that while we were getting the bookings, we realized that playing that numbers game was really a very, very, very good option. In the beginning, when we were traveling, we realized that because of the internet, a lot of people that we were, for example, we go against to do a dance competition against a group, and they're studying us Jamaicans so much that we end up seeing our own dance moves, the group doing our dance moves to battle us, that type of scenario. So we started to say, hey, in the beginning, let's not post so much of our stuff on the internet, because it's being taken and used in a way that is not benefiting us. But after a while, us and a lot of other Jamaicans and other street dancers realized that there was a whole market of people overseas internationally that cannot come to Jamaica, especially in that time. and that they had interest. So what happened was that a lot of us started to put our information on the internet as a way of marketing ourselves and promotion. So fortunately, we had that jump and had a little bit of that advantage before, you know, COVID hit and all those things. So we were already somewhat developing ourselves from a marketing standpoint. But we still lacked and do lack in a lot of ways, a lot of the business infrastructure to, you know, for example, we made a YouTube channel years ago. But what? You live in Jamaica, so we have issues monetizing it because, you know, the bank account information, the this, the that infrastructure not there for Jamaica. You do sell, you want to sell a tutorial online or sell, you know, monetize your stuff. You can't earn from PayPal too tough because how you going to get your money? Because you can't connect your Jamaican bank account to pay. There's a lot of limitations to being in Jamaica and our market space, and unfortunately not supported well enough by Jamaican people in terms of in that way, like online content, putting the content out there in that way is not consumed as much as it should be from local people. So a lot of us have ended up putting our stuff out there in that way, and we made that jump. Fortunately, we are a little bit, you know, ahead of it. Our YouTube channel now has over like 4.9 million views. We've now been able to figure out how to monetize it. We have over 15,000 subscribers. You know, we're kind of getting there, but we're not there yet. There's still a lot of issues. And I do believe that it is a big way to go in terms of, especially in this time now with COVID, it is very, very difficult because, as it was said, the market is extremely saturated now. Everybody is trying to put out content and jump into that space now because everybody is seeing, you know, the potential. Because there is nothing else. There is nothing else. But in terms of the street dance space and the urban dance space, we are a little bit ahead of the curve in some ways in terms of marketing ourselves internationally and developing an international audience. We've been able to do that. But in terms of the structure and the business aspect of it, we don't have a lot of us are behind the curve, you know, in that way. And as a result, you have other people internationally who have that infrastructure and that knowledge that have set up businesses and been able to, I won't say use or take advantage of, because it's a partnership in some ways, because the Jamaican dancers do benefit from it, but we are not in control of our own destiny to some extent. For example, there is this online thing, no, possible. We've been giving classes online. People want to learn dance, people want to dance, especially in certain places of the world. They're accustomed to being in a classroom space to learn dance, right? We in Jamaica are not so, you know, we're not so, you know, classroom is more free form, but overseas they're very technical in that way. And so dancers have been traveling here to learn, and in this time we've been able to say, okay, put classes online, and people from all over the world interested who didn't have access to us before now can now take online classes. But in Jamaica, we're still not where we're supposed to be. There's an organization in Russia who is making, all right, they do 4 classes in the morning, 4 classes in the evening, online classes of Jamaican people. They took it, organized it, contact everybody in Jamaica, use the entire network of the Jamaican dancers, right? They have 4 classes in the morning, say 4 classes in the evening. And they say they split the money, say 50-50 with the dancers. These people make, say, at least €100 every day. So for 5 days a week, for example. That's what, 2,000, say €2,000 a month. That's over 300,000 Jamaican dollars that these people make just because they have the brain to organize the Jamaican dancers and put them together. Something like that should be coming from Jamaica, by Jamaica. We should have that in our own hands, but I find that for us, we lack a lot of, just the technical knowledge, the business knowledge. As it was said as well, you have to learn other skill sets, the music production, the videography, all of those things, and especially in an online space, because you really have to make a product to give people, but there's a whole lot of work that, has been done, but there's a lot of work that still has to be done. But in terms of the perspective of the street dancers, we are somewhat, we're managing it, but we lack a lot of technical know-how and technical knowledge and structure and business structure. But it is getting there. Also, ourselves, Shady Squad, I mean, I was able to communicate with Conray, and we were able to figure out a lot of things. So we had our website set up to sell our tutorials online, because we figured out from about 2010 that the numbers game was the best game, that we couldn't go booking to booking only, and that there was a lot of potential in the international people that wanted us. So we were able to set up our website, put our tutorials online, and be sending them internationally. We were able to set up our YouTube, as I said. Where now the copyright game makes it extremely difficult for you to monetize, as a dancer, because you dance to music. So, we're able to now look into creating our own music, our own compositions, our own projects, and that helps, with our, monetizing and getting money and our earning potential. We've now looked into organizing events, dance events internationally as well. This is our event. It's called Groove. You can look it up online. Trying to create, more of the business moves that should have been made to really organize our potential, because the potential is there. It is possible for us to do so much, because we have the talent, we have the potential, the creativity. But I find that in the street dance scope, it lacked a lot of the technical know-how. But we're getting there. COVID, is now forcing a lot of the things that should have happened a long time ago to happen now. And although, as it was said, although it's negative in terms of the health of people and the suffering that they go through, in terms of the organization from a business standpoint, I believe that it is benefiting us in a lot of ways. It makes it more difficult because of the saturation of the market, but it puts your headspace in a place where it is supposed to be. And I believe that Jamaica should be really finding ways to outsource our talent to the world. And I believe that now in the viral space, it's happening, and we're doing it, but we still need help and more technical knowledge and, other organizations and the rest of Jamaica to get involved in what is happening with us. Because a lot of us, we can't really do it on our own. We don't have a team and the structure for it. So, I mean, that's where it is, in my opinion.
Thank you so much, Matthew. Some real solid thoughts there. And let me just say that JBDC is here to assist in terms of the business side of things. I mean, so if you can commit to helping to organize some of your colleagues who are involved in street dance and who are doing this kind of work as well, we will commit to help with the business structuring that is seriously, as you said. So take me up on that, okay?
Yeah,
man. All right, so I think that is that panel presentation, and now we are going to open up for questions and comments. I see lots of comments in the chat room, but there is a protocol for asking questions, as I think was shared with you at the beginning of the session. There's a way for you to raise your hand, and when you raise your hand, Sansia will acknowledge you and open your mic and allow you to ask questions. Or you can type your question or comment in the chat, and we will deal with it. Are there any questions, Santia, before I? Santia?
No, there are not any questions at the moment.
Okay, cool. So I want to.
Harold, Harold, it's Faye.
Yes, Faye.
Could I just say something about Marlon Sims? And he listed a number of things that we ought to be doing, staying relevant, and I would put in that being physically fit, whatever it is that as a performer, you need to be, and other things. But he spoke of documentation, and when he said that, I said, because in his masters, he used that quite a bit. As far as I know, I don't know if anybody else in Jamaica has this, but he did his masters in Laban notation, which is, he has a skill to document dance moves, write down the moves, not by word either. You know, so I just thought, what this is also doing is that we have to understand we need to collaborate rather than compete. And he's not going to talk about that unless I ask him to or you ask him to, which is what is Laban note, because he doesn't push himself. But he has this special skill that I don't know if anybody else in the Caribbean has or in Jamaica has at this time. Ask him.
Yeah. Marlon, I've asked you. Can you speak about that a bit, Marlon? Because it's very, very important for us. I was wondering about that, especially in the dance space, how documentation is done apart from probably videography, you know, but go ahead.
Well, lab annotation is just one form of documenting dance. There are other kinds, you know, there's one called Benish, for instance, and lab annotation is used to document dance in a way that musicians would use their manuscript to record music. So there are symbols that are used like vocabulary to document every aspect of movement that involves the body in a particular space. It is a specialized profession. I am not certified in it, but I did it up to a particular level where I'm able to document certain elements of technique or class. And it is supplemented by video documentation and also interviews. So it is not just done independently of other forms of documentation. It's done with the support of other elements that are not possible to be recorded on paper. So as I said before, you have the video, you have the interviews, you have the stories that may lead into the kind of choreography, for instance, that is being recorded. And so you have a full-on documentation of a process and the result of a process that lab annotation offers you. Have I explored that? No, not in depth. I started a few years ago to document the NDTC style, in particular the bar work that was developed by Professor Netterford. Lab annotation takes a long time to be done because it's so painstakingly specific to even what your eyes are doing. So that is something that I will continue at some point. But until I resume that, I'm now focused on digital documentation, video recording, interviews, specifically for historical information.
Thanks, Marlon, which is a beautiful segue into the first area that I wanted to raise with the panelists. And that is about the role of intellectual property protection in monetizing the craft. Everybody kind of touched on it in a way. Faye spoke about it. Michael definitely spoke about it in terms of when he spoke about the impact of piracy. And certainly Matthew just spoke about it when he mentioned that when he goes to a competition internationally, they're competing with his moves. The other group is competing with him, with his moves, you know. What role, in your experience, has intellectual property protection has in terms of the monetizing of your own craft in your own experience? I'm going to ask each of the panelists to comment on that. Have you, in fact, done that kind of intellectual property protection in any sort of formed? I mean, how you can comment on it personally and from the perspective of the industry that you're in as well. Can I start with you, Michael, since you mentioned the piracy?
Yes, I must admit, I have signed some very stupid contracts because I hadn't read the fine print. But as you grow up in industry, you then learn, you do your research, and you find out that a one-shot buyout deal, no matter how much money they're giving you at the time, is not the best deal for you, right? But the best deal usually is to make sure that that deal goes on into perpetuity, so that whenever your image is shown anywhere, you actually get paid for it. So there are those different types of contracts that happen. Also, I went ahead and I actually registered the name String Bean, so I actually own it. So it's no longer a part of, because the character String Beans is in Royal Palm with an S on the end, but Michael String Bean Nicholson, which most people call me anyway, String Bean, Mr. Bean, I actually registered that, so I actually own the name. So if anyone actually attempts to use it now, I can now legally go about pursuing any kind of monetary, anything that anybody attempts to use that name to do. But one has to be very careful that you get caught in you do a play, you get paid for rehearsal, you get paid for the performance, and then all of a sudden during the run of the play, a video camera comes in to the space. You're not too sure why it's there, but so as not to rock any boats, you allow it to happen. You want it taped because you want to keep a copy for yourself, not realizing that you have not given permission to have this work taped, right? We've gone on tour before. I remember back in the early days of the National Pantomime, going to the Gossman Theatre and seeing the whole balcony with rows of red lights, with people actually videotaping the production, so that by the time you performed on the Friday night, Saturday morning, when you go down to the flea market, there are packaged copies of the pantomime that are available out there for you to just buy from a vendor who happened to have been there the night before. So these are some of the things that you have to look at and determine that either the producer stops that from happening, or if the producer does have the right to have any tapings happening, that you sign some kind of contract that ensures that you benefit in the event that this piece is reproduced. And moving forward, that is what has happened in my life in terms of performances, that those that are being taped, there is a special clause there to be paid for that work separately, and to be paid if this work is reproduced again or is shown on any other medium.
Okay, cool. Faye, any thoughts?
Yes, a few thoughts to add to what Michael had said. Because my life has spanned both theatre and media, perhaps, well, I have parallel careers. I want to talk about advertising, because there was a time when I was very involved as talent for advertising. My first stint in advertising happened when I was in third form at St. Hugh's High School, and Adrian Robinson came to the choir to find voices for an ad. It was a Canada Dry ad, and I was paid the princess sum of 3 guineas. Of course, yeah, for the young people, that's 21 shillings for a guinea, and I was given 3 guineas. It was quite a bit of money, but that was clear and honest buyout. I didn't know what the term was then, all right? But I was paid, so they didn't use, and it was 4 of us girls, they didn't just use us and didn't compensate. Adrian Robinson, he said, man. And then in my, went to drama school, and then after I started doing a lot of advertising work, both for radio and television, people like Oliver, myself, Ruth O'Sheen. And in a properly run media house, you will, or rather advertising agency, you sign a contract. And that contract should tell you that at the end of this is payment for 1 year. If it runs for the following year, it's a percentage. If it runs for a third year, it's another breakdown percentage. And if it goes on for 4 years, then you renegotiate. Some advertising agencies didn't do that. There was a particular advertising agency, and I'm going to call the name McCann Erickson. It was very popular in the 70s, 80s. And I don't know, Miss Ashman was her name. I don't know if she kept those records, but I'd get a call to say, Faye, we have a royalty check here for you. What was our first? Anyway, Miss Ashman, if my memory serves me right. And so you could rely on that. But then there are people who would keep the stuff going, and you realize, oh, but this is gone over time, and you approach them and it's a big issue. And, you know, Michael said something about, all right, let me just continue. So the advertising is one thing, and that's with a good advertising agency, then you're treated right. Without a good advertising agency, things can happen. You have to be careful who you do work for. In theater, those cameras, or those phones, and when it used to be, it's hard sometimes to manage them, because the announcement is made. You hear it when you go to NDTC, you hear it when you go to the plays, that there should be no recording, video, or still, but some people find a way to do it. And some of us allow it to happen. So if I'm sitting watching a production and somebody's phone is on the line, I say, excuse me, yeah man, I don't turn it off, because sometimes I'm looking around playing like, where? I said, I talk loud. I said, excuse me, you're not to be recording. You know, because I know what can happen with that. So that's one thing. As an MC, and I did a lot of MC work in the 70s, 80s, and up until the mid 90s, that no, you get a fee. But there was no negotiation for what happened if it is played after, if it turned up on wherever after. So that never was considered. I don't know, and Michael alluded to it, you know. So as an MC, now in media now, here, media own your talent for the media house that you work for, right? And it caused a lot of discontent. And so, and it's not just in Jamaica, it's in the world, yeah? So if you create something, you create it while you are an employee of the Jamaica Broadcasting Corporation, and them are gonna get it, right? I think people have tried to, you know about that, right? I think people have tried to change that, but I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know how we're going to do it. So a lot of things that we could have benefited from, we did not and have not, and I don't know how we're going to get it changed.
Yeah. Thanks, Faye. I'm going to ask Marlon.
If I may, Harold, if I may, because there was a time, right? Because I take it back to the JBC days, Faye, when we did Oliver at Large, right? When Oliver at Large, that series came out on the air, the next thing you knew is you would get a call from JBC saying, there's a royalty check here for you after you've been paid for the work. And you said, royalty check, because you didn't know this, because it was actually in your contract, that the fact it was shown on TV and then subsequently it was taken abroad and shown there were funds from that which the entity would then pay to you.
Might I just say something very quickly on that, Harold and Michael? People have, during these COVID times, you notice that TVJ has been recycling some of the older works. And somebody sent me messages about Oliver at Large and about Dulcinea, which was radio. And I said to them, I can't tell you, the media house will have to make the decision. I can't tell you because it is not a straight decision. I don't know what that contract said. I don't know if they can just go put it back out there and don't have to pay royalties, not just to the writer and to Oliver, who's a lead name in it, but to the rest of us who appeared in 1 or 2 or 4 episodes. I mean, my episode at the airport as a supervisor, I like some nice money. Sure.
Right.
Or at Dulcinea, when me and Oliver the donkey and Hunter, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Thanks. Before I comment, Marlon and Matthew. Marlon.
Yeah, I think it's an area that needs some strengthening. It's a definite sore point and a weak area for a lot of artists because, you know, when I was growing up and my talent was being requested for certain events or ads, I was never advised on how to read a contract properly and what to look for and the value of my art or the value of my talent. And so I believe that I've done a lot of free work to the benefit of organizations who were just too happy to know that I did not know all that I should.
It's called
at the Edna Manley College, I know that we are going through a process of looking at policies regarding what comes out of student performances and what we can use them for and how long they can be used and who has the rights to use them and those kinds of things. And I believe that Edna Manley College should be the place in which we create this kind of dialogue and conversation, formalizing that aspect of our craft so that when the artists leave the institution, they're able to negotiate for themselves, value their craft, and are able to market themselves within a space where they know what they're asking for. But sometimes when the artist who is awoke or woke goes out there to talk about the value of their craft and what they need. There's another artist who is probably equally talented who would walk up and take the job over them. And so that leaves them there standing by themselves with all their information, not having anything to compete with in the space because there are other people who do it almost for free. And that is a challenge. So there is no necessarily anybody that's governing or protecting the artists in terms of what is the limit or basic treatment or expectation of an artist within a workspace in terms of what their craft is valued and how their talent should be treated at that time. And I believe that we've sold ourselves short. I don't believe there's any kind of labor laws governing the artists. Let's say, for instance, there are dancers who are employed to a particular institution. There are certain things that we need in order to operate in that space. We need proper gear. We need a wooden floor. We need a space that we can warm up and rehearse and practice. And certain spaces do not allow for those basic things to happen. Now, who do we talk to? Who represents the artist? Who negotiates for us? When we run into those kinds of situations where we are taken advantage of, which body do we talk to? Who represents the artist and says, okay, fine, we understand that you're interested in this talent, but you cannot employ him because we have to have these things in place. Some have the agents, and some agents do a fine job of representing the artist, but they don't all operate within a framework where they speak on the larger operations of the industry. And so you have people who come in, recognize that there are loopholes, and they take advantage of it. And there's some artists who recognize, hey, I want to make a big boss. And so they just give up their talent for free. And so we have the challenge of mitigating against the people who exploit the talent and the constant tension between those who want to formalize it and no one actually owning it, whether it be a government body or an independent body, to say, let us get together, guys, let us form an association to try to help each other so that your rights are protected. You feel as though you're supported. And if it is that you run into problems, we can assist you and help you out of it. And I think we have a long way to go as regards that, so that the artists feel as though they're empowered and then have an opportunity to truly ask for what they are worth.
Yeah, I agree with you, Marlon. The role of industry associations can't be understated. I don't know, is there one for the dance community? I don't know.
There was one, my dear colleague had actually started one called Adage.
Yeah, so Neil just posted in the chat a while ago. Yeah, Association of Dance Affiliates of Jamaica. That one?
Right, that one. But of course, that needs to operate within a space where it can be supported. And if it doesn't get the support that it needs in order to actually do the job or carry out this mission, then it will die. So I would say that it's on hold right now and has not taken off in the way it should. Yes. I understand that in the Ministry of Culture, there has been a registry established for artists. I honestly don't know what that means.
Right. So, absolutely, Marlon, I'm agreeing with you 100%. I'm agreeing with you 100%. I think, yes, the role of industry associations is critical, and I can share with you that we have begun to have discussions with the Minister of Culture about JBDC working with the Ministry of Culture to strengthen association bodies, because it's one thing to have the association, is another to have a strong association, and it's yet another to have a strong association with the necessary support from the state that is needed for it to then support its members. But I also think, before I ask Matthew and Conray to comment on the same issue, I also think that there is a major role in terms of educating our artists. Yeah, if you first of all avail yourself of the knowledge, because I mean, in other words, you need to know that you need to know. First of all, and I hear you, Marlon, that's part of what Edna is striving towards, to make sure that students, at least that understand exactly how it is that we enter the industry as professionals. But there are many persons who are already in the profession, in industries that don't have sufficient knowledge and comfort in terms of just understanding what is copyright, what's how do you protect performing rights? What are you to look for in terms of your contracts and things of that nature? What does it mean to have a trademark as opposed to a copyright for your works and so on? How do you protect your work as a dancer, for instance? So I see you here, but I want to ask Matthew and Conray to comment on how it is that, because you mentioned, Matthew, when you were speaking earlier, that you had to cut back on the amount of content that you share online and that type of thing, as a deliberate thing to control who has access to it. Because to be honest, if everybody, in this explosion of online content now that's happening with COVID, that's another thing that we as artists need to consider. How much content do you really share openly like that? You know what I mean? Because there are certain content that is not, you can't protect it once you have shared it in certain unless you have records of the original, you know, type of thing. So that is also a consideration. So Matthew or Conray, you want to comment on that?
Conray, you going to say anything or go ahead or?
But you can start and I'll finish.
All right. Okay. In terms of, in my point of view, we have a big issue. As I said, for us as speaker general street dancers, we really need a lot of, information and education as to the possibilities of what is possible for protecting our intellectual property in terms of movement and dance for us. What has happened with us is that we have adopted a system of mass promotion. Promote it everywhere you can promote it under the sun, so that anybody see that move, say, oh, I see the squad move that, I know that move there. That's the best possible means of protection that we've been able to come up with. In terms of money, it's still not, you can't, I've sit in my living room and see Beyonce on stage, Beyonce doing my dance moves. And I am here, me looking at Conray like this. And that is it. All you can do is save the video and just add it and say, okay, wow, look how far.
It's a marketing tool.
Or yeah, basically, as a marketing tool, that's basically it. It's a discussion that we've tried to have with a couple of us in the industry, us, Kimiko, Latanya, Arville, a couple of people. We've tried to have that discussion a few times, especially in the beginning when we were beginning to go internationally, because, we saw that a lot of people were gravitating towards the urban, the dance hall. And because we were, dance hall is you have a popular dance move now, you create a dance move, and people were gravitating towards it all over the world, and they were beginning to take a position of dominance on it. So in the beginning, everybody just got super angry. And, we're trying to figure out how are we going to protect this? What can we do, to, copyright our dance move? But it's like, we've never heard of it before. So we don't know possibilities of what can be done. So all that has been done is to adapt the position. Okay, we'd make a move, we'll make the name for the move, we'll put it out in the media online where we can, and promote it as us, attach our brand and our image to that dance move. So everywhere, everybody knows that, that is our dance move. But in terms of collecting money or some kind of, revenue or something specifically just from the use of the move by other people, we have not really been able to find a way to really do that. We can market it and use that as a tool for people to book us to teach it to them in the real authentic way. We can put it online and say, look at this video and it's monetized, or make money off it. We can sell a tutorial. But in terms of people using it, and us being able to say, hey, you use my dance move, that's my creativity. I made that with my blood, sweat, and tears. You owe me some form of compensation. We haven't been able to find, that way, structure-wise or business-wise. We don't have the knowledge to really, make that happen. We haven't been able to figure it out. I mean,
For real.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Just to add, to further that, okay. As far as it stands now, based on my last research, the only way to copyright anything dance related is to copyright choreography. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you can copyright choreography. It has to be a sequence, and the sequence of movements has to be recorded, and that is how you would copyright it. But in a case of, I mean, that's good and well if you're doing a theater production, or if you're doing some form of excerpt, or that you plan to publish in some way, whether online or use in performances and so forth. But from a street dancer perspective, where your dance moves, typically shouldn't be more than 4 counts. I mean, it kind of evolved now where you have it got up to a length of 8 counts, which is now even today seen as a bit technical, because the whole point of being a street dancer is doing moves that are popular. And popular in the sense, just like how you have a popular song, it's simple and it's catchy and it don't have any real bass or depth, so that everybody can catch it and everybody can relate, is the same with dance moves. They have to be light and easy, because not everybody is a dancer. Everybody can dance, but not everybody is a dancer. See? So when you have a move, you make an easy move, and just like how it make it easy for everybody to catch, it make it easy for everybody to teach. See? And then now, so you can copyright it as a dance move itself. Seeing, and then you can protect it to you and to your brand. So in a lot of cases, you find that you promote it this week, next week or 2 weeks after that, you see a dance move come out with a piece of your dance move and a piece of our next dance move combined, and it's a new dance move. Or is a case where is your dance move just straight, just is your dance move, but it just have a different name, and maybe somebody more popular promoting it, or somebody who have a different market somewhere else promoting it, so them thing might gain traction in a faster way or in a more deep-rooted way than you, and you just have to promote your thing over here, so, and make them do them thing over there. So, because at the end of the day, you can argue, which is one of the reasons why you have a lot of dancers. You hear about a lot of dancers having issues with other dancers, because, it's who have it first. And there's no real way for copyright other than posting and time logs on posts. You know what I mean? And I mean, for music, that would suffice, because when you copyright music, if it's recorded, that is what is a so-called poor man's copyright, and you can bring that into a court to argue it and to say, okay, I have this and it's time stamped as XYZ. But with dance, you can't do that. There is no poor man dance copyright. It's just a video. You know what I mean? There really is so which is what we were saying before when it comes to business. There are a lot of ways where legislation is behind the art form, and it limits us, because not only is there not the legislation to back up what we need to do and how we need to grow, there is we suffer from that, but also we suffer from the fact that because of that, there is no blueprint for anybody who comes into this field to follow the steps that say, okay, we can do this and this is how we can grow. You know what I mean? So in another country or in another society, they might have a dance operates in a structured environment, and they know that they go to dance class on a Saturday, and they do this and they do that, and the progression is from this group to that group to that group, and then they're on the main theater stage and so forth and so forth, and they have a whole socialization of the dance and a structure around it where they can benefit and learn, you know, and in a sense, it's not so much about individual acclaim, but is a studio-based environment, right? But Jamaica is not. Jamaica is based on raw talent, you know, individualism, especially as a street dancer, you know what I mean? It is a portion of that in the other areas of dance, but as it relates to street dance, it is solely that. And what you make is what pays you, is what promotes you, is what busts you. You know what I mean? And if you can't protect it, then you literally can be here today and gone tomorrow. And that is really what we suffer from. You know what I mean?
No, Conray, I appreciate those thoughts, Conray. You said some really, really important things. In that talk a while ago thing. I think, I know Faye, you want to come in and say something, but before that, I think one of the things that we can do coming out of even this discussion that we have, Neela, Marlon, Matthew, Conray, and so on, is to initiate, is to kind of initiate a formal conversation on this matter, because I don't know, for instance, that the copywriting route is perhaps the best route for to determine your competitiveness structure, what is best for your business structure. You know what I mean? Maybe it's a strong trademark, type of thing. So you know, say Shady Squad as a brand, as a strong brand, is about the entity that creates dance moves. Don't worry about we're not defined by the dance move that we create. We're defined by the ability to create a dance move and to create one tomorrow if you need it, and to create a choreography out of the dance move. In other words, define your what we call a business model based on what really your competitive advantage is. It's not the move itself. It's not the move that you create today that defines your competitive advantage. It's your ability to create that move and to create the next one tomorrow, and also your ability to share that and to translate that to persons anywhere over the world. That is what really creates that competitive advantage for Shady Squad. So it's really the brand Shady Squad that is about the thing, you know what I mean? So, but I think that it is really important for us, Marlon and Matthew Conray, is to see if we can create a space to continue this kind of conversation among the persons, certainly different groups within the dance industry. Street dancers with a huge number of and growing number of groups as well. I think we can definitely do that and have that conversation, because I believe that we need to do much better in terms of monetizing what it is that we're doing, you know, at root of what it is. You also mentioned, Conray, another important thing. You mentioned the structure of the industry. You spoke about the structure of the industry and the fact that there is no kind of stage by stage kind of development structure for the industry. So somebody who comes in and say, I would want to be a street dancer and my aspiration is to do this in Brussels in 4 years' time. What are, you know, there's a stage by stage process in other ecosystems internationally that allows things like that to happen. It's not only dance that has that challenge, I believe. Is the various creative industries have that challenge of that kind of ecosystem structuring. I'm not saying it right across the board, but I'm saying it is a challenge that we need to look at for sure, yeah, Faye.
Yeah, I want to thank Matthew and Conray for their presentations. Not that I don't thank the others, because their art is the one that I admire, but I'm not closest to, right? because everybody knows.
You mean you're the ones that say, that Conray talk about saying not everybody a dancer? Are you?
Oh no. As a matter of fact, if they want, they can audition me right now. But they raise some very important points, which leads me to raise 3 points. The performing arts, we tend to be, there's distrust from one group to the other, right? We need to get our associations properly established. For example, we had the JADA that the late Louis Marriott had initiated, and it went on for a while and then fizzled out. Without associations, then bodies, external or internal, won't take us too seriously. We have to get those associations. We can't go for money to help us unless we have that. And as Marlon said, you know, the ministry has put something in place for people to register, but we don't really know what that means. So Marlon, we can talk about that. What I want to ask you and the JBDC to do, because it's coming out and everybody at different levels, if you could organize a session with JIPO, JCAP, Jam Copy, the rights associations, so that people can learn more, because part of the problem is lack of knowledge and information, right? Until I was on the board at JIPO, I didn't know certain things, just had an interest, right? And because I teach at CARIMAC, I would bring, at the time it was Stephen Golding in musician, to speak with the students there about JCAP. Why it is important to have your work registered. If you don't have it registered, whether it is a JCAP or ASCAP, but it must be registered, that you can't get no royalties, you know, those kinds of things. But the distrust, we're very singular, you know. We think of ourselves, we don't think of working as a group to see how we could benefit as a group. And you know, the performing arts is a collective thing, you know. I remember about 3-4 years ago, I found myself on the stage, the National Dance Theatre Company stage. I don't know if Marlon and the others understood what that meant. Not as a dancer, but as in a performance. What was I doing? Reading poetry with dance or movement choreographed around me and involving me and tearing out. We need to understand that we are not separate. Yes, yes, I'm not a dancer with NDTC, but we must also go and watch NDTC perform. But we tend to stay in our local area. So we're not into plays, so we don't go and watch Michael Nicholson when he's in a production. You see what I'm saying? Because what it does when we expose ourselves like that is give us a richness for interpretation and for understanding. Beautiful, beautiful. Absolutely, absolutely. 115% agree with you, my friend. Sansia, any questions or comments that we want to share from the...
There are a million comments in the chat room, but there aren't really any questions. So what I'm going to do again this week is to save the chat and share it with the audience, so that persons can probably go back through and see some of the information that has been shared here. But there aren't really any questions. There's just been conversations, and so when someone asks a question, someone else answers, and Neela has been on fire.
Yeah, man. Great. All right, cool. I wanted to raise one other issue with our panelists for conversation, and everybody can kind of touched on it in a way, but I want you, from your own perspective, and certainly from the perspective of your colleagues in the industry, speak a little bit more on the importance of personal brand relevance, because Marlon mentioned, and everybody kind of touched on it, but Marlon mentioned for sure, and Michael spoke about the importance in this period to ensure brand relevance and kind of your brand maintenance in this period where you're not so much, you're just not on stage in this period, and you're not in the spaces in front of persons. But he mentioned, Michael in particular mentioned the importance to stay relevant to your community, to stay relevant to your audience. And I want to challenge our participants to not only stay relevant, but increase your presence in terms of, and your brand presence as well. So I'm going to ask you guys to comment on that from a personal perspective, maybe some tips that you have been using in this period for the brand relevance and maintenance. Michael, let's start with you.
Well, one of the things that I've been doing since being home is I've started doing the research as to how much work I have out there, how much work I have on YouTube, how much work is out there in groups, how much work is out there in various groups that I've worked in. And I found that since they're there, I'm slowly but surely digging them up and posting them on my Facebook page. I'm still trying to get used to Instagram and that sort of thing. So I'm getting there. I'm not quite there yet. But to post extracts of these pieces, because I keep meeting people who, a whole generation of people said, when I was younger, I couldn't watch Royal Palm Estate, but I would hide through the curtain after my mother sent me to bed and still get to peep and watch it, as I crawled beside the sofa or look beside my mother's shoulder as she was watching it behind the sofa to watch Royal Palm Estate. I said, but as far as I was concerned, there was nothing about Royal Palm Estate that you couldn't watch, but that was how people felt at the time. Mainly because there was this thing that would come on just before the show starts, which said parental discretion is advised. Yet, when Bold and the Beautiful come on at the time that it was at 5 o'clock in the evening, there is no parental discretion advised. And some of the things I see them doing in them, I said, oh, hold on a little bit. Royal Palm Estate was never halfway near, nowhere near that. Yet there was always this big deal because it was a Jamaican production that we might just slip up and do something stupid. Anyway, so I'm in the process now of trying to find these little snippets that are available on YouTube and I've put them out there for people to see, for another generation to watch, to show that local work has always been there. That we've always been a part of it, and that there is stuff that people can watch. I remember the early days of the curfew when the police said they're running around trying to get people to stay inside. One of the comments from people was, after news, there was nothing to watch. I said, well, how could you say that when we have so much local content? There's so many things to see, right? And I know that both stations have been doing a good job in trying to get local content on television. So if it's not going to happen on TV, then I think it's my duty to try and find it, try and grab the old Olivers, try and grab the old scenes of Royal Palm Estate and put them out there for people to watch. All right, and just watch them. Now, this is free to air. I mean, I'm not benefiting from it, but what it does for me is, one, it keeps me current, and two, I'm now going for a whole new generation of people who had never seen me before. So I want to make sure that that happens, so that when all of this eases, when the new normal allows us to come out on the road, and we do decide to go out there and work again, you're not going out there like, who is this? Where is this person coming from? No, it's already out there. It already exists, and we can now go on to produce and of course, start to get revenue again and start to earn again. So the image is important. It is important to keep yourself relevant, and it is important to use it as marketing, so that you will earn from that as a result. And again, as I said, my dream is, because I don't believe in going to Hollywood. I do believe Hollywood should come to us, because we have more than enough talent out there to do that.
Big talk. I like that. I like that. Marlon, any thoughts on the whole business of personal branding as in the dance space?
Well,
brand relevance, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think that in terms of brand relevance, one has to look at who are you, and what is it that you want the consumer to understand about you and your product. And I think if it is that you had already established yourself online by having a YouTube page, a YouTube channel, or you are on IG, or you on Facebook, then it is perhaps time to refresh that page. It is perhaps time to revisit what you've been doing all along and try to change things up, because it's up. As I said earlier, the space is now being cluttered by persons who recognize that YouTube and those platforms are the only space now where they can exist and get their information and work across. So how can you refresh it? I've heard talk of going back and finding old videos. I think that's a very good idea. I also think that one can create new material that is perhaps relevant to what is happening now. I know some dance companies have, for instance, created dance sequences in their home space, or reimagine dance works that were performed in theater, performed in the different spaces where the dancers are now living. And I think this reimagination of the dance experience and the performance experience and making it relevant to what is happening currently will draw an audience into where you are now, because they will see themselves in the performance. I also think that conversations is another way. It's almost like you can open your house to have a conversation as an artist with who you are and your audience, and they will have a chance to get to know you. They have a chance to get to know the company members or members of your group or organization. And I think that's one way to reconnect with them and to engage them. Timing is also important, which is why I said earlier that you have to study your analytics in terms of looking at exactly who is going to your platform, how long they stay on it, and what their reason is for visiting it. And then the analytics should guide what it is that you do in terms of the material that you publish on your platform. I also believe that you can collaborate, because a lot of YouTubers, for instance, have collaborated with other YouTubers to increase their viewership and reach. And I think that has worked well for some persons, organizations, and individuals. Those are the ideas that I have just now on assisting.
Cool, thanks. Faye?
So here I am, branding and relevance. If you don't keep your image, and that it doesn't have to be visual alone, out there, then people think you have gone away and that you don't exist, or that you have passed on, no joke. Because I came into a household name long before the technology is as it is now. My name, Faye Ellington, is my brand. It is my brand. The spelling F-A-E, which my mother gave me, my initial spell, my first name, is my brand. Why am I emphasizing that? If your name is what you're known by, use that as all your social media handles. Somebody are gonna find you easy. Don't bother talk the little knockfoot girl and that goes, hey, nobody that. Use your name. Like Michael said, string bean a female, you put Michael string bean Nicholson, people will connect with that. So that is my brand. I thank God that when I started out, the competition was just 2 radio stations and 1 TV station, and I had the benefit of having radio and TV, but theater is what launched me. We also have to understand, somebody mentioned it, I think it was Matthew, and it could have been mentioned elsewhere, and Michael, about the diaspora market. When I look at the analytics, it's in Marlon, and I see who watching me on YouTube is in the 44 to upper 50 something. Not only, but the majority. Why? And you hear people say, my God, Miss Ellington, you look just like when I used to see on stage in pantomime. Lord, I'm at Huddersfield in London, or I'm over at Bronx in New York. So you have part of my brand, well, all of us, is our history. Who are we? What did we do? And who are we now and where we're going? That's a branding. So we have to walk it out and walk it out properly. Our dog nyam with supper and is a mongrel with mange. That part is mine, and I'm going to. I have to copyright that part. The mongrel with mange thing, right? And Michael mentioned something about a new generation who have never seen him. He was speaking in his country. Michael, me older than you. So there are generations current generations who have never seen me. So me now have to find a way to introduce myself. So I look at the analytics and I says, oh, somebody said, who is this lady? Is that there? what a way she behaved like Miss Lou. You see the height for them when put me in and now? So associations, branding is a powerful thing, and sometimes we don't know how we are branding, and sometimes we are not branding positively. So we have to be careful. So Harold, thank you for involving me. May I brand like it, and I notice how me bright and pretty, and I, right? Even the when I wear, when I'm doing, I'm not joking, when I'm doing a Zoom meeting or a Microsoft Teams, people say, Faye, how are you into your technology? So, hello, I'm going to be 67 next week, okay? If I'm not into it, I have no place. I can't exist. And I want to be there.
May I just add one quick point? One quick point. Thank you so much for that, Ms. Ellington. And it's a short point. I had missed several calls on my phone from Mr. Bert Rose. And for those who don't, Mr. Rose, he is one of the founding members of the NDTC. And when I was finally able to call him back, he said, oh my God, thank you so much. You answered the phone. I thought you were dead. And I said, what do you mean I was dead? There was a man on Sims that was shot in St. Thomas and he was killed. I said, no, Uncle Bertie, I'm still alive. He says, praise Jesus. So when you mentioned that you must brand yourself and brand who you are, it immediately struck me that I needed to do something about it. So I started to say, okay, fine. I'm no longer Marlon Sims, I'm Marlon D. Sims as a way of identifying myself. And I recently branded myself on social media with MDS, which I actually copyrighted and registered. So the MDS will exist as only me, and you'll not find another one like that anywhere. And I've also sustained or maintained the branding name or my identifier on all social media platforms, Marlon D. Sims, Marlon D. Sims, Marlon D. Sims. Right. So we can find, who you are and keep abreast of what you are doing. And I must tell you, since I've branded my name or my initial MDS, a lot of people are now curious as to what's coming next.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. But, all right. Thanks for that, Marlon. And before I ask Matthew and Conray for chime in on the whole branding issue and brand relevance and keeping branding people's space. Two questions for you. One, the mongrel with mange.
Every time I use it, I say, God, that's mine. I need to brand it. I need to. What?
We can see the mongrel with mange. Not
exactly,
only
because
mange.
Yes, it's visual. So dog me at your supper, and it's a mongrel with mange. You want that for your supper? What's the other question? I need to
No, sir. The mange can make it very graphic. And so the mongrel with mange hungrier than the mange and more aggressive. And the second thing is what the A stands for.
Audrey.
Audrey, all right.
No, let me tell you what my mother did, and it's her creativity. I didn't change it, right? I'm not that creative, so you see where the creative streak coming from. She got my initials, Faye to F-A-E, and my initials is what spell my name, Faye Audrey Ellington. So it's her creativity, not mine, but I love it. And so I try to use the A at all times, or any official document that I have. Faye Audrey Ellington, bank account, whatever it is, Faye A, right? You put it in there. Like Marlon, you need to make sure, say, and guess what happened? Since I became a household name, some more people named Faye. And there could be another Faye Ellington, F-A-E, so I'm have to be careful with it.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. My mother was creative, so she named all of it H-A-D. Initial.
That's because she had all of you. She had
exactly.
all of you.
One quick story before Matthew. One day I asked her how comes what's with the name Harold and why it is that Harold is whatever. She said, oh no, Harold was I named me after my favorite donkey. So I'm just saying I wasn't sure whether it was I was to feel endeared or whether I was to have a problem with it, but I just hug it up. Matthew, I Hope Alicia Davis, Hugh Anthony Davis, Howard Alfred Davis, Harold Arthur Davis. I tell you, good for her. Having a ball. Matthew and Conray, any thoughts in terms of branding? And why it's important. You mentioned, Matthew, you mentioned a lot of stuff when you were talking initially, but I was wanting to kind of drive it home a little bit in the importance of creating your own brand and strengthening it in this period, especially for your dancers who are listening.
Well, I mean, you know that for us dancehall, let's say, is very brand driven. from the core of it. When you go to the party, them have them 10 color in them here, them have them specific outfit. And everybody the next day or everybody associated with the party can know, oh, that is him, that is Shady, that is Shelly Belly, that is Kiva, that is Bogle, etc., etc. So at the core of it is very, brand oriented. We were fortunate as well to now move from that base into at the start of our career, we were on television with Dancing Dynamites. So that reinforced us as a brand, Shady Squad. It taught us a lot. It changed our whole perspective of how we, carry ourselves, how we structure ourselves, We design, we had our look, our logo, went on further in terms of our branding with our YouTube, our social media. Everything is across our, under the same umbrella of Shady Squad, the same logos. Now we've developed our event. Groove is, specifically branded to, represent Jamaica. I don't know if you can see it with the big Jamaican flag in the heart. We're branding, our masks, coronavirus with the groove, everything, the Jamaica colors, because we're marketing it overseas, where I'm bringing everything back to Jamaica. So, I mean, a lot of it is associated, yes, with your image. I think in terms of the branding on the social media, I think that a lot of us going to need help from other organizations as to, there's a specific thing called verification where they give you this kind of specific emblem on your social media that everybody in the world can know that is, the real Shady Squad. So if you have 10 accounts on Instagram that says Shady Squad, when they see that blue tick on yours, they say, oh yeah, this is the real authentic one. This is the, the right social media account for those people, to follow. So things like that, we specifically don't have that. It's more musicians that have that. And I believe because they have the marketing team and the publicists and so on that help them to do these things. So, I mean, for us, we still have work to do to make those connections and to figure that out for ourselves from a dancer's perspective and a dancer superstar's perspective in that way. But the marketing, the branding is a lot associated now for us with, how we look, what we wear, your image, as you said, and now the products that we create, they're named and packaged. That this is this step coming from us. It is filmed, it is put out. There's the dancers have set a very specific network of amongst themselves of sharing and promoting, each other's work and attaching your name and your name to your step, to your dance move, to your, creativity. There's a lot of work going into just branding and marketing on a daily basis. It is very, very difficult, especially in our field of what we do, because it requires, many people probably don't realize it, constant work, because this generation consumes very, very fast. So you put something out today, the first 5 minutes they watch it and then it's gone. Tomorrow they're gone to something else, So you have to be really constantly reinforcing your brand in terms of constantly creating content, topical things. There are other Jamaican social media accounts that, you give your work to those people to spread it to, the diaspora overseas of, people who live in Africa, people who live in England that are Jamaican or from the Caribbean and so on. There's a lot of work, like constant creation and constant promotion as far as growing your brand and making your work, stand out. See, you have anything to say? I don't know if you can hear me.
When you finish,
I have 1%, so I might have to switch to my laptop. So you can talk.
Okay, right. Yeah, so with content.
By the way, you two are twins?
No. I'm 2 years older.
Okay.
People ask us that all the time. I'm 2 years older. He's the younger.
Okay, cool.
He's 2 years younger.
Go on, Conray.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, with content, even content consumers today have ADHD. So you have to structure everything to that end. Whoever you are, whatever you do, people consume content very quickly, and it can't be too long. I mean, Instagram, the videos are 1 minute. You know what I mean? They recently put on a thing where you can have IGTV where videos can be actually longer than a minute and so forth. You know what I mean? So people, you know what I mean? Most videos today, most content today is geared towards being shorter. You know what I mean? And yeah, so with that, it's not a lot of content to consume, but it also is easy to sustain your audience. But you have to put out more content to keep people interested and to make them remember you. Because, I mean, people gravitate to what is trending now. You know what I mean? And it can be relevant today and out of focus tomorrow. You know what I mean? So unless it is an audience that is specifically looking for your content, and into who you are and what you do, then you can become redundant very quickly. So I mean, people suggest that you post content at least one video a week or one other content a week.
And in terms of your content, it is supposed to be of a good enough quality that it can sustain itself. So the way that your things start, the way that they end, the way that it's constructed, it should be in a way that it carries itself. It should be able to carry itself. So like the Manga Chronicles, when somebody watch it, them say, hey, you see what happened with this? Then them pass it to that person. And them say, oh, you see what happened with that? Then them send it to that person, them send it to that. So when you brand your stuff and when you create it, most times as a street dancer or as a entertainer overall now, it is created in that way with that in mind, that your content should be at a certain standard and constructed in a specific way that it is easily consumed by people. So like, for example, in a technical term, you can't have like 10 million titles in the beginning or slow, because by the time them see the first 2 seconds of the title, them say, all right, I can't bother watch that. Construct it in a specific way that from them see it, them like, oh, what is this? And they want to see more and they consume it. And then by the end of it, they either want to watch it again or subscribe to you or share it with somebody else. There are a lot of analytical tools, as it was mentioned earlier, that show you who your audiences are, when they're online, what type of content they're consuming the most from you. If you're on YouTube, you can see where they watch the video, where they stop. With the most people, okay, them stop halfway through the video. That means that halfway through my video I have a problem and I need to find a way to create my content to sustain the viewership longer of the videos. And everything is based on algorithms that say, based on how people react to your work, whether they click on it, whether they want to watch it, whether they watch it for an extended period of time, then these social media things recommend it to more people because of the way that it is, the responsiveness of people to it. And that responsiveness that comes from your branding, your thumbnail, the first image that they see makes them want to click on it. The way it starts make them want to watch more. The way it constructed, the way it ends, make them want to watch it again or share it, stuff like that. All of those things are, to me, to some extent, are related to your branding in your project. It helps with your overall marketing of everything. Even the dancers know just how they make their videos. If it's just a dance move, the way they start the video, the way they jump up and down in the beginning, everybody say, all right, what's going on? What is this? I want to watch it. Who are these people? When you're selling your stuff, are you branding it, are you giving it to cultures, especially that do not understand it, to other places in the world that are not familiar with what you do, how you brand it, what they see first, it makes it, determines whether it carries over to them, and they become more interested and they want more, or they want to share more, and they become a part of your community, or just another scroll, you know, in the time feed, or just another,
Right. Yeah,
you know?
yeah. All right, thank you so much, Matthew. Thank you so much, Conray, panelists. We're at the end of our session, or coming to the end of our session. A couple of things I want to share with you. And I want to thank you for sharing in the chat room. And yeah, I would see your comments and many comments, and certainly the conversation on the orange economy. We are committed to continue that conversation. And we are committed to even deepen that conversation with the work that we are doing now with the British Council in mapping the creative industries. So yes, we are committed to that. Ingrid, I love the comment when you're talking about Matthew, them for mask up your brand. Nice. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I guess the lesson that we have learned just now in terms of the branding and the branding strategy and how important branding is, I guess the fundamental lesson is knowing your audience, knowing who your customer is, and knowing what it is your customer is expecting of you. Who are you targeting, and who have targeted you in some instances, you know? So that's very, very important. I'm going to ask each of the panelists as we wrap to just give some final thoughts. And while that is happening, David, can you launch the second poll? So we just want to know how it is that you thought the session was, and so that we can improve as we go on. Now, so before I ask you in the order of which we presented at the beginning, so that would be Faye, Mike, Marlon, and then Matthew Conray, to give you closing thoughts. I just want to remind you that we are, in fact, in the middle of some research that we're doing with the British Council, where we're mapping the industry, and we had launched a poll which was closed, with a survey which was closed a month ago, but we decided to extend the survey further. So David, can you drop the link for the survey in the chat as well? And this is about gathering important information on the creative industries, empirical data that we can use strategically to make decisions, to be counted as creative industry persons, to guide policy and policy strategy and so on towards this orange economy, this knowledge economy that we yearn for. So can I ask Faye, starting with you, just to give your last your closing thoughts? List down.
I don't know what you've been drinking. Every now and again I see you put up something to your mouth, so I don't know what it is. Tell me it's coffee, okay? Don't tell me it's coffee. I'm happy to have participated in the session, particularly so because the other participants are younger than I am. And Matthew and Conray, you'd never understand how I have been pleased to hear your presentation. We all learn from each other. And until you shared the details that you have, yeah, I see you as a dance group, but I did not know how you were approaching this whole thing. And I'm learning from you, I'm learning from Michael. I just want to make a suggestion to you though, Matthew. You are sitting there and presenting, and I can't tell what's on the shirt. Now, in regular happenings, it's okay. What you need to do, you're going to have to put the name up here. You have to go put the name here. So if you have to do a lot of sit down thing for Zoom or whatever, then your name, or maybe on your hat. So your brand is always there, because where you are, we can't see it unless you get up or lift it up. So that suggestion there. Michael, I was wondering if you put the things up from the things that you have done, if any of the creators, the people who wrote the thing, I don't know if they'll come at you. I was just wondering about it. You know, the people who wrote the plays or the television things, if they'll come at you. I know why you're doing what you're doing, but I don't know, I just wondered about that. And I'm really hoping that we can have the session on intellectual property and copyright. It's been, for me, a session from which I've learned from everyone. So thank you very much. Marlon, as usual, you always bring that calm, focused presentation. I have been notes on everything that you say that we need to sort out with the documentation, and we need to arrange this. Yeah, Mama, write them down. So thank you very much for that. And thank you for JBDC for asking me. Initially, I wondered, why Santia asking me to do this? She know no more people to ask. I'll try send her in another direction, but she never take me on. I tell you. You say you don't have any playwrights and producers and directors and what should about it now?
Thank you very much, Faye. Michael?
Right. Well, Faye, I'm just posting them on Facebook, so I'm not earning anything from it. So I don't think anybody should be offended or decide to come after me because I'm harmless. But if they do decide to, I really don't mind. They should in fact bring it on because I have a few questions for them anyway. But the fact that it's my image and it's my work, I don't see why I can't share it with everybody else for free. So therefore, until it becomes, usually you always hear in Jamaica that a Jamaican artist does somebody else's song and it doesn't become an issue because we do it all the time. But the minute a Jamaican does somebody else's song and it hits overseas or suddenly it's on the Billboard chart and suddenly it's an issue because no monies are involved or the artist becomes bigger than he should be and therefore everybody wants their piece of the pie. So as far as I'm concerned in terms of sharing images of myself and work that I've done, I'm just sharing it because I want people to know, I want the market to be out there to show that I've done this work and I've done it pretty well. And there's a standard then and there's a standard now that we still maintain. So hopefully we're in post-COVID, there's nothing else to do. Enjoy some of the work that's out there that you might not have seen before. Here it is, right? On me presenting. And I'd just like to thank you and your company, sir, and Tancia for inviting me to be here. I hope I've been able to share a lot of how I feel out of my work with everybody else. And it is good that you actually remembered to call me in. I couldn't figure out why to like you for me. Said, why me? There's so many other great actors and directors out there that you could have called, but I'm so glad you decided to select Brand Michael Stringbeans Nicholson. I appreciate it. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Yeah, hello. Yes, I also want to extend my thanks to your organization for inviting me on to be a part of this discussion. I have learned a great deal, and I feel as though in some way this has become a support group because we're all going through such a rough time. And it's good to know that we can sit and talk and look at solutions to the present challenges that we are facing. I mean, I'm just going to reiterate a couple of things I said, or a few things I said. In COVID-19 times, things will never be the same. Post-COVID-19, things will never be the same. And we have to adjust our minds and our methodologies to deal with the present challenges and find new ways to bring across what it is that we do and what is it we're passionate about. I can't think of anyone who's in this group now who is not passionate about what they do. But try to reimagine your product and service for online engagement. Think about how you can repackage what you do so that it meets them where they are. Remember, dynamicism never changes. So it may give you an opportunity to look at what you do and look at dynamic changes that can make in terms of its offering. I love what Matthew is doing in terms of online engagement as well, and figuring out his market audience and trying to meet them where they are by reconfiguring what they do and how they do what they do. Intellectual property is a big consideration. It needs to be formalized, it needs to be addressed. And although it's going to come out of the formal school system, as in Edna Manley College, I think every artist in Jamaica will benefit from that pertinent information, which will help them to negotiate better for themselves and earn the kind of money that they deserve for their craft and the kind of energy, love, and passion that they put into developing their craft. They should be compensated for it. Branding and rebranding, whether it be an individual brand of an organization, now's a perfect time to rebrand. So you can grab some attention online and compete in that space effectively. And also the establishment or relaunch of organizations that can support dancers in this period and thereafter. So we have an organization that's advocating for our rights within the workplace, within the labor market, so that when we talk about we're a dancer, we're an artist, we can refer to an organization that will represent our best interests. And in closing, I just want to say, remember, COVID-19 may be a tragedy, but it is definitely an opportunity.
Excellent, Marlon. Thank you so much. Matthew or Conray, I don't know which one are you going to go and wrap, and for 2 minutes, 1 minute to wrap up.
Conray, you want to go ahead? You can go ahead, because I'm afraid that my phone will give up on me.
You have enough battery for...
I have 2 seconds. I just about the angle. I had a plan, you know. I really had a plan that I was going to just take my phone and attach it to this nice little gadget right here, and it would be right up in front of my face, and I would be out there, you know, but it never worked out. My battery went on haywire, and then I had to string it up to this charger, and everything failed. But I started with a plan, you know. But well. Thank you to everybody for having us. We are really, you are all magnificent people who have done so much for this industry, and the fact that we're even just here with you all is just amazing, you know. Conray, take over, please, before my battery gives up on me.
Right. Definitely. You all are lighthouses within your own fields, and you know the body of work speaks for itself. I mean, is an honor to be on a Zoom, on a panel, you know, with such people. And for me, like, for me, it's definitely a blessing. You know, you don't get the opportunity a lot to you don't get the opportunity a lot to sponge off the wealth of knowledge of,
Yes.
you know, people in your field and people in the industry, you know.
Yes.
And most times you have to, most times you have to go it alone. You have to do it alone. You have to figure things out for yourself. And just to be in a forum where we can be enlightened in this kind of way is just as much a blessing for us as it is for the people that, you know, we're having this panel for. And you know, again, thanks to JBDC, you know, the British Council, for having us here. It's always been a pleasure for me personally to work with JBDC and whatever endeavor. You know, I remember the last seminar that they had, we were performing downstairs, and I believe Marlon Sims was upstairs about to do a presentation, and something dance related, and I wanted to go and watch the seminar. I watched his presentation, but I had to be downstairs performing, so I never got the chance to go. But you know, it stands out that much to me in terms of the work that's being done here, and it's a blessing, and it's definitely a walkway to the future for us and for the fields of the arts.
And just to add for everybody before my phone chip out, if anybody wants to communicate with us further about anything or to share any further knowledge with us, you can all find us on social media at Shady Squad everywhere. Shady Squad on Instagram, Shady Squad on YouTube, Shady Squad on Facebook. If you're in Russia, Shady Squad on VK, Shady Squad on Twitter. Is there anything else? TikTok, Shady Squad, everything. Just send us a message anywhere. You should be able to find us. It's not that difficult. You want to share any knowledge and any information. If you just want to just follow us and support our journey as we continue, you can do that as well. We are appreciated. We're open for further, you know, information, communication in relation to anything that you might have to share or want information that you want to share with us. We are here. We're open to that.
All right, thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Harold, ask him if you have a Telegram. I couldn't resist that.
You're happy about Telegram. Well, listen, thanks everybody, really, and thank you all for supporting the session. It has really, truly been a great session. I mean, excellent session. The perspectives of everybody was spot on and really good, really diverse and really substantive, something to chew on. I love it. And I love the little community of everybody that has, it feel like a little family thing going. I love it. It's nice. So thanks everybody. This session is available, Sansia, on YouTube, no Sansia? Our YouTube.
Yes, it's available on our YouTube channel, JBDC Jamaica, so you can just go on and subscribe, and you'll be able to access this presentation as well as all the presentations that have gone in the In Concert series prior to this, as well as presentations from our virtual biz zone and
Great.
entrepreneurs journey.
So thank you so much, Sansia. This has been Scene 8 Money Moves. And face away for PR for the Scene 8 part of the thing. But thank you so much. We'll be here again next week. Watch your space and you'll know exactly what topic that we're going to be presenting. This zone happens on Tuesday. And that is to the general MSME community, where we're talking about different things every single Tuesday in a webinar kind of format rather than a panel discussion type of format. But either way, we're in this space. Now is an excellent time to share with us in this space as we prepare to be better and do things at another level as we come out of this crisis. Yeah, so thank you so much. I am Harold Arthur Davis, HAD, right? So thank you. It has been our pleasure, certainly, to bring this to you. Walk good and be safe. Thanks.